Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Abdullah Konte here with Skylar Nelson, and this is another episode of Win Sports. Today was the coordinator day. We got to hear from both the offense and defensive coordinator as well as the head coach from the Washington Commanders. Skylar was present in Ashburn. So, Skylar, how are you feeling? How was the vibes out there in Ashburn today? I know there was a lot of people there, but obviously the post was not there. So just tell us about your experience over there.
I mean, obviously, we were in the same room that we would have like the regular press conferences like throughout the year for practices throughout the week. And also, when it came to OTAs and stuff. But obviously, it was kind of weird not having the post there, two empty seats. It's not something that, in journalism you think about lightly. It's something that's kind of sad. It's kind of an era that ended that shouldn't have ended. And it feels weird, but at the same time, I'm glad that, DQ and everyone, talked about it and we had discussions about it, as a group of media people, because regardless of whoever that may be, that could be us or them, so,
Yeah.
just keeping that in mind. But, prayers go up to the Washington Post sports family. I know some of the reporters personally, especially the high school reporters. Definitely, prayers out to them, and hopefully that they, are able to, have a new opportunity and seek new endeavors. But at the
Yeah.
same time, the vibes in there, they were pretty good to me. They weren't anything sour or bad. I think it was just for DQ specifically, it was like turning over a new leaf, right? I think he came in there, he knew what he wanted to talk about, he knew what he wanted to say. Obviously, the media had questions, we had questions, but at the same time, I feel like DQ is focused now more than ever. And I think, that's pretty valid for the position that he's in right now. I do feel like, the season is kind of on his shoulders as a head coach, as it should be. I mean, he's not the only team that's going through that, but at the same time, with what happened last year, it was prone to happen. So, but it was good to see Daronte today. It was good to see Blau, hearing them speak for the first time. I will say, and we'll get into it more, there was a level of confidence, I think, for Daronte. He came in, he shared his story, was able to present, his vision for this defense and what he wanted to seek and explore throughout this core. And I think, there were some exciting things there. And for Blau, it was like, a promotion and a call back home to the team that he was originally with. And, for me, I think Blau in some cases showed, there was some confidence there, but there were also some moments of, still figuring it out, still processing it all. And it's a new
Yeah.
opportunity for him. And I think,
Well,
it was great to see him talk today.
okay. Well, look, I mean, yeah, to jump in and, obviously DQ talked. He is on the hot seat, or at least his seat's starting to get warm. I'm not sure how hot his seat is because of the fact that they did go and hire two people who have no true experience, play calling in the NFL. And, are they going to, if they were to have another disaster season, would he be out there? Would they just basically say, on to the next kind of thing? I'm not sure. But I do know that, like, yeah, these decisions are really important. And
Mm-hmm.
if he should be feeling some bit of pressure because what happened last year, as much as the success of the first year, last year was a complete disaster. So it was good to hear from him talking about his meticulous, interviewing as he went
Yeah.
through, a lot of candidates. And I think from what we heard today, you could see how these guys got the job. Like, clearly they speak well. And we'll
Yeah.
talk about the first guy first, right? The first guy in Daronte Jones, a DMV native. He talked about going to school, 10 minutes away or so close to the stadium. He talked about his experience here, his family being here. He has a lot of ties here, obviously. His whole family was excited for him to get the job. But I think the thing that I think everybody was pretty impressed with him, right? Like, I think we all kind of heard him speak, and the thing that I love the most is that he is clearly like a football junkie slash nerd type guy. I mean, he was talking so much about Zimmer and Flores and all these different coaches that he learned from. You know, he talked about his struggle getting, being homeless twice pretty much, living in his car, trying to go through this journey of being a coach. And the one thing that also was nice is that he really did his homework on this team. He talked so much about the players already on this team. It's clear he really kind of has an idea of who or guys that he wants to really engage with and talk to. But he was just very genuine and also just came across as impressive. Now, well, I'll preface by talking about that in regards to him, is that being able to say all these great things is one thing, but they need to perform. We heard the same kind of stuff from Eric Bieniemy in the past. We've seen other coaches come in and wow us or get us excited about what they're going to be capable of doing, and it still has to be put out on the field. So what was your takes on Daronte? I mean, did you have anything, that really impressed you, anything that he said or anything that was something that just, stuck with you during that press conference?
Honestly, he showed every ounce of confidence that I actually wasn't expecting. To be a
Mm-hmm.
DMV native, and to come in, and he showed a lot of humbleness. He mentioned a lot perseverance. And you were able to see that not only through some of the things and some of the experiences that he was talking about, but some of the things that just aligned between how he described the players to his own personal stories. I mean, I think it's
Mm-hmm.
important for coaches and players to be able to relate to one another, to be able
Mm-hmm.
to win together, lose together. I think the biggest thing is today is he mentioned both wins and losses, and he showed valuable, I would say, learning experiences from both, and how he, as a coach, how he carries that into his coaching career, how he, talks to the players, his interactions. He always said that he's a guy that, has good interactions, that interacts well, that is willing to learn and to pick out the things that will help his core move forward. And I think, for me, one of the biggest things that he had said today, and I wrote it down. He said, "Not what you'll give up, but what you are willing to do." And that's the thing. He had said that not only about the story about him being homeless, but he had also said that about just his core in general. That's what he wants them to learn. What are you willing to give up? I mean, well, what are you willing to do about your situation? Are you going to give up on it, or are you going to keep playing? And that's the thing, that I think that really stood out in today's presser. I will say he impressed with his words. Obviously, there's a lot more that we have to see from the defense, especially with some of the things that happened last year. But at the same time, he talked a good game, and I think for me, when I look at coaches, I look at what are you bringing that can really shape these guys. He even talked about shaping young players in their second and third year. He talked about what type of aggressiveness he wanted. He mentioned, obviously we talked about that. He just mentioned, he talked about some of the coaches that he got to learn from. I think it's a
Mm-hmm.
great start on where they want to go, and he shares some of the same philosophies, some of the same mindsets that DQ has already built upon this team. And I think, they're moving, it seemed like that they're moving a step forward from where they were. Just with even with just the hiring, but also too with Daronte being able to come in and understand that look, he is an underdog. He doesn't expect people to trust him right away, right? You know, especially fans. But
Yeah.
he's looking, for a chance. And I think, he's going to get that here. He's going to get that in this core. And I can see these guys learning something and taking away something from him for sure.
Well, he talked a lot about versatility, about the
Hmm.
young squad. Like I said, the most impressive part to me was that he seemed extremely knowledgeable about the game of football. Obviously, felt
Yes.
very like I felt you felt I felt at ease listening to him speak because I'm like, yo, I think this guy's got it. Like I think this guy is the guy that makes sense to lead. Like I could see how they hired him. After hearing him speak, I was like, yeah, like I'm sold too. Like and
Yeah.
that's just based on him talking, right? And you could tell, I think he's just passionate about this and wants to get after it. And I think that's the one thing that, DQ is all about. Is about people who love the game. Even the fact that Daronte Jones mentioned that, I know he didn't really want to answer the buzzwords question or whatever, but he mentioned
Yeah.
that love for the game is important. And I
Yeah.
think, anybody who knows me, I say that if you need to be passionate about something, if you're going to be good at it, I feel like there is this element of passion that pushes you more. And I think that, yeah, for somebody who slept in his car multiple times trying to make this a career, it's clear he's passionate about this, and it will do everything to make it work. And I think that's kind of the message of like what you said from his quote or whatnot. One of the things I thought was interesting, and I don't know if you like caught this or if it jumped out to you, but for me the big thing was the fact that he was naming certain people, but it was also because it was also interesting other people he didn't name. Right? There was a lack of players that he didn't mention. I did love the fact that he mentioned Mikey, because I think that there are some people who've tried to jump off the ship of Mikey, and I think Mikey's a really good player. Is going to be a big part of this team for a long time. He mentioned young guys like Kane Madrano, which is a guy
Yeah.
that everybody's hoping to get more out of, especially for the conversation about lack of coverage on running backs last year. He had mentioned even somebody as like Quan Martin, who a lot of people have completely jumped off the ship from, and I can understand he did not have a good year last year at all. But
Yeah.
maybe there's something that he sees in him. I mean, he was a second round pick, and his first year was really good. So it's ideally we'd like to see all these players that played well 2 years ago and maybe struggled last year come back to fold, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there was an absence of people like Bobby. I mean, he talked about Bobby when he was directly asked about Bobby, but he
Yes.
did not. He talked about like a lot of different people. Luvu Madrano did not mention Bobby. Did not mention. I don't think he mentioned Deron Payne at all, and clearly did not mention Marshawn, which I think we all kind of have the impression that Marshawn's getting cut. That might be the easiest cut candidate,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But did you notice that? And was that something that was talked about within the reporters? And did you guys go into detail about that?
On a personal level, I mean, no, but that was something that I did notice. I mean, to not talk about Bobby. I mean, DQ talked about Bobby more than he did, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's not to some degree. I'm not too worried about it because I feel like at this point we all know that Bobby is a leader on this team
True.
that is well respected. I mean, some things are just better left not said. But at the same time, people are gonna start, wondering long term, can you see Bobby developing under you, or can you see Bobby developing alongside you? And
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing, is it's like now we have to start questioning or looking into, is Bobby is Bobby more than just a leader on this team, or is he more than just a player on this team? And that's, DQ will say otherwise. Like, yeah, he's a leader, but at the same time, that kind of questions, what type of authority are you really gonna get from Bobby is really
I
the
I
kicker.
I I would be. I don't know if Bobby comes back because of that, right? Like, I think it would have been
Yeah,
such an easy thing for him to mention Bobby if it was a for sure thing. And maybe it's just because he knows that some changes are going to happen. He has no control over that
yeah.
because it's
And
not like
maybe
he
he
gets to
doesn't
make
know.
final say. Yeah, he doesn't get final say on this. So maybe it is talked about on certain players that he thinks might be here, might be gone. But I think it was interesting that we did not hear Bobby's name unless I think Standig was the one who asked him about him directly, and even the answer he gave was like, "Yeah, it's always great to have veteran players," but he didn't like really divulge much into that, right? Like he didn't go into being like, "Oh, we would love to have Von Miller and Bobby back." Like he didn't mention any of that. It was just kind of like, "Yeah, we love having veteran players too," and he just said veteran, not
Yeah,
older. Like, granted, veteran kind of goes hand in hand, with older, but at the same time, like he was very much talking about versatility and youth, and I wouldn't
yeah,
be surprised if there's a lot of changes when it comes to some of these older guys, including Duran. I mean, Duran Payne is somebody that I think that they could use and brings energy to this team. He's still, I think, only 28, but they might be looking into cutting him loose too, because it is a big cap number for Duran also. So I thought that was interesting. I just thought it was something to like think
Yeah.
about or consider because, yeah, he's gonna, that was another thing that we forgot to mention. DQ said that he is gonna run his style of defense. Like it's gonna be his
Yeah.
defense to run. They're changing the whole format. It's his to control, and I love hearing that because we saw what happened last year when Joe Witt was in control, which was the same defense you would assume that DQ would be running. We saw when DQ started running, it was a little better, but still not ideal. And for everybody who loves, Brian Flores and wanted him to come here, and then they got Daronte Jones. There's so many people saying, "Oh, he's the second coming of Daronte Jones. He's Daronte Jones' assistant." Like, well, you better bring Daronte Jones' defense here or something like that, because if you don't, then you're just gonna have the same kind of production here too. So I think that we may see a lot of turnover basically because of the fact that he's going to run his own stuff, and maybe he doesn't love the talent on this team, and clearly he likes some of it because he mentioned Jordan McGee, he mentioned Sanders Still, like there were certain
Yeah.
guys you could tell he was excited about. Luvu, that we all knew Luvu would be somebody that he would be excited about because the way Luvu plays is exactly the type of role that works well in this aggressive type of defense that we are expecting to come here. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's just definitely interesting. So,
Yeah.
did
But
you
I
did you
wouldn't
want to
be
expand on that?
surprised.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised either if, guys like Von Miller or Bobby didn't come back. I
yeah, no, of
think one of the
course.
biggest things that also too affected the Commanders, not in the worst way. In the first year it worked out. Last year it was kind of, it's all about moving this team forward, right? And
Sure.
some veteran players can't continue to keep moving this team forward. They can only be here for a certain period of time. I think the biggest thing that the Commanders are trying to explore and implement is focusing, especially too, and we saw this last year, is focusing on those secondary guys, focusing on those second year, third year guys, because they are the future of this franchise.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, but to also be honest, I don't think anybody knows what is going to happen with Bobby
No, we
or
don't.
Vaughn. We don't.
No,
We
we have
don't
no
know
clue.
anything. We have to just, play the waiting game, wait around for OTAs and those like group sessions and the team meetings and having these guys, getting back to Ashburn for the off season. We don't
Yeah,
know what's
it's
going
also
on.
it's also wrong for anyone to talk about a free agent. Like the guys
Yeah.
that he didn't mention are mostly free agent people that like we don't know if they're coming back. So it's like he should focus on the guys he knows for sure will be here. So Bobby could be
Yeah.
somebody he thinks could be utilized 100%. I'll just be honest, I got the vibe that he doesn't really want Bobby back. That's just the vibe that I got from his answer. But that is obviously somebody just overlooking or like just overanalyzing an answer from somebody who talked for the
Yeah.
first time, right?
Well, I mean, to be honest, too,
Yeah.
last year, I think as the defense in certain ways was crumbling, I did observe that there were a lot of situations that I feel like Bobby in some way had to step up more than just a player. And for me, like sometimes you just want to play football and then let that be that. And just be a leader or a team captain, not be the coach. And I feel
Yeah.
like in a lot of ways, especially when Joe Witt stop play calling, I think that's what affected his role on the field in some way. I mean, obviously his play style stayed the same, but it still was a lingering issue. And, Bobby's well respected. We just don't know if he's going to come back or, if they want to explore a younger core. But we also were saying, too, that we wanted to see more like Kane Madrano had a good camp before the injury. So, there were things that we were seeing. Even Jordan McGee, we wanted him to play more. I think two injuries did play a factor in that, but at the same time, it's time for these guys. It's time to start seeing stints from them.
We just got to see the best out of these guys because there's too many guys that are talented, like Johnny Newton, like, Kane
Hmm.
Madrano, like all these people that we've seen look good and look like they have all the attributes and they have not produced at the level that they need to. So we'll see. My thing is that like for me, talk is cheap. We're going to see what actually happens when training camp starts and when these guys actually start to get out there. But I'm excited. I got excited from hearing him speak.
Yeah.
There is something about motivation from someone talking. I got that from him. He seemed very, very intelligent, as well as this a guy who knew a lot about ball and was excited for this opportunity. So let's jump over to the other side, right? Like, David Blau. I think gave somewhat of the same energy, but we kind of talked a little bit earlier on the fact that, like, yeah, look, he did sound nervous. Like, he sounded like it was maybe one of his first time speaking in this capacity. And, like, I think it doesn't. We all heard Eric Bieniemy wow us a couple years ago, and that just faltered and was terrible. So for this case, I felt like I left listening. I was listening in my car driving around. When I was finished listening, I was like, yeah, like, okay, cool. Like, I didn't get wowed by Blau, but I wasn't like disappointed or, unsure of him or anything. I just felt like I felt more from what I heard from Daronte Jones. Now, how did you take it? How did you feel after listening to him speak?
Well, this is how I feel overall too. Like, I feel like DQ came ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Daronte was confident, and I feel like
Mm-hmm.
Blau was in some ways, I would say he was there, and there were some confident moments, but there was a sense of
Mm-hmm.
nervousness in terms, and you got to
Yeah.
give the man some grace.
And that
Give
could
him
just
some
be that
props.
guy. And that could
Yeah.
just be his personality. Like, I mean, honestly, we don't know. But yeah.
Mind you, this is the first time that we've heard him really speak. So, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
obviously he's been around the team, he's been around the franchise, he's been in the locker room, he's been in the offices.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, he's taking on, this is a new journey for him. So, I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be surprised. I'd be nervous too, like
Yeah.
it's a part of life. It happens. But at the same time, I do feel like, with how emotional this fan base can be, it can flip flop with some people, and that's okay. I mean, everybody's gonna have
Well,
their
that's
opinion.
Well, I think that's the thing that's interesting is that, somebody can be great, but are you going to be able to pass the test when the lights are on, right? Like, I think
Yeah,
that's my feeling about somebody who hasn't done it before, because we all know people who might have been good at one thing or another, but when it's time to show out in front of everybody, they could falter, they could crumble. Like, not to
yeah,
say that that's him, but I think that that's where if anyone felt like there was nerves today, that's probably what they're going to be thinking about when it comes to, like, when it's time to go, when it's time to play call, it's time to actually
yeah,
get this show on the road. I just think that these guys who are hiring are not idiots, and they hired him extremely fast.
yeah,
So the fact of the matter is that, like, we didn't talk X's and O's. It's just a guy. He might just be a guy who doesn't like talking public speaking. I don't like public speaking. Like, I'm not really liking to get
but
in
you
front
talk
of
a lot.
people. I love to talk. Like, I'll talk all day. Like, I'll talk your ear off. But if you tell me to go talk in front of a group of 50 people, I might be like
Please, he'd be like,
struggling.
okay. He'd be like, okay.
No, I'll do it if you pay me. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're gonna pay me, I'll do. Yeah, look, he's getting paid. He's getting paid to talk.
No.
Wait, is that
Anyways,
crazy? That's crazy.
look, I meant in a motivational speaker type of way, but okay.
Oh, first of all, you think those motivational speakers don't get paid? They all
I
get
mean,
paid.
I think
They all
they
get
get
paid.
paid, but at the same time, like, anyways, I was
No,
thinking
all
a
I'm saying.
community-based thing.
No, all I'm no, but I would say, but I'm serious. Like, even that, like, if it was a community based thing and I had to speak in front, it's not always the easiest thing to do. Like, I would do
It's
it,
not.
but it's not, and that's basically what my opinion is in regards to him. Is that I did think he was a little nervous. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I think he didn't. It might have even been better if he went first and then Daronte Jones went after him. But there was an element of, like, I don't think I got enough of Blau today like I did with Daronte Jones. But that,
Yeah.
like I said, talk is cheap. I don't really care that much about what they have to say today. Like, it is important, but ultimately you can say nothing and be a genius, and that's all good. Like, we need production on the field. But I think I did love hearing more about, things that he wants to do when it comes to, playing under center, stuff like
Yeah.
that. I think they're just like how I think that Daronte Jones is very motivated and like very locked into this game and this job, and it's thankful for this opportunity. I feel like Blau's in the same boat. It's just
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
they're both relatively green, and I would say Daronte Jones has much more experience, so he's green to play calling. He's not green to being in a room and talking
Yeah.
and being in charge of men. Whereas Blau, I mean, think about it. I mean, this guy's gonna have to be in charge of grown adults as the coaches, not only just like the players, but also the other coaches, like Anthony Lynn. He's gonna have
Yeah.
to tell Anthony Lynn stuff. Like this is not gonna be. It won't be the easiest transition, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But
It's not. And
I'm
but the
excited for it
biggest
though.
thing,
Yeah.
yeah. And but the biggest thing too is, and we've talked about this before. I'm actually it is refreshing to see this type of approach in Washington. And the reason why I
Yeah.
say that is because I mean, we even talked about this the last time. I mean, just looking at the league overall, everybody's scrambling to find their next coach, to find their next coordinator, wanting that experience. But at the same time, it is refreshing to see an in-house or getting a guy that that understands or was around the guys in the room that maybe you wanted. And, like that's fine. We have to see what they're going to do. You never know unless you put them in the position to do so. And
Yeah,
I
people got
think
to
that's the
actually
biggest
get a
thing.
job. We talked about this like in the last pod. Like
Yeah.
sometimes people are like, "Oh, you need a job," and they're like, "Well, you need experience." And like those people who don't
Yeah.
have, they're like, "Where do I get experience if every job says I need experience?" Like somebody has to take
Yeah.
a chance on you, right? Like somebody has to give you a shot. And I think it's a little risky for DQ to give two guys their first shot, essentially, right?
It is
But
a little
you're
risky.
right. You're right. Both of them have been in the room and been following and learning and studying from the best that are ever to do it here right now.
Absolutely.
The fact that Ben Johnson had great things to say about Blau, the fact that Detroit was trying to hire
Yeah.
Blau. Like there's a reason why
Yeah.
they decided to take a chance on him so quickly is because they knew they didn't want to lose him. So they're not stupid.
Yeah.
They're not doing that because they just feel like, oh, somebody wants him, we'll take him too. They felt they knew what they had, and so they were comfortable. Skipping other people like Brian Johnson. You know what I mean? Like skipping people like Anthony Lynn, who could have been the
Yeah.
offensive coordinator. Like they had other guys that have had experience play calling that they could have went with, and they went with Blau. So,
But also too, I think another big thing that stood out was Blau's relationship with Jaden. I think too,
yeah,
even looking through some of our pictures, like most of the pictures that I see of Jaden, he's standing or sitting next to Blau. And it's
sure,
like,
sure,
you never know what types of conversations they were having or the
yeah.
connection that they had,
Well,
how
I,
strong it actually has been.
and it's funny because a lot of people have talked about this. I hope though they didn't overthink that too, though. You know what I mean? Because it's not like
Hmm.
he's not. It's not like we're saying, "Hey, you're the quarterbacks coach." No, you gotta be in charge of the O line, the running
Yes,
backs,
the
the
O line,
receivers, like all of it. Like you can't, even if you have a great connection with Jaden, we need him to be able to direct the coaches and the players of all of these positions, and that might
yeah,
be hard for somebody who's never even been in charge of a position group before, right? So
yeah.
from jumping from that's a big jump,
That
man.
is
Like
a
this is a
huge
big
leap.
leap.
And
Yeah,
I think
right.
that's
So
where the nervousness came from too. If you really think about it, I mean, you never know what's going through somebody's head. I mean,
of
I
course,
everybody is gonna underestimate you until they see the final product, right? We
yeah,
haven't seen the final product or even a glimpse of what that would look like, and we won't really see that until. I mean, we'll see training stints and OTAs, but we really won't see that until camp when
yeah. No,
everybody is
we'll.
suited up.
Yeah, that's why it's like as much as this is cool and all, and I love hearing them speak because it's been something that we've been wanting to hear for a while because we don't know these guys. Like it's not like they
Yeah,
hired somebody like Mike McDonald where we've heard him speak plenty of times. Like these
yeah,
were guys that we've never heard. We never
yeah.
knew anything about them. So to hear them speak for the first time, it's exciting. It's the first of many. But yeah, I will say that like yeah, that was kind of vibes that I got from it. But at the same time, like you just don't know. Somebody could give you all the right answers and sound so great and eloquent, and
Yeah.
you get them. They get the job. I mean, I've been there. We've all probably been in positions where we're working with people, and you're like, how did this guy get the job? And then you hear that, oh, he killed the interview because of his personality. Like, he had a great personality, he had good answers, whatever. And then there's other people that maybe struggle in interviews and they're actually really, really great at what they do. They just don't know how to talk super well, right? And I'm not saying that that's necessarily Blau in this case. I thought that Blau did a good job. I think he was just a little nervous, but that's just our opinion, obviously. I think he was still impressive. I think both of them got me excited to see what they do. And I think, obviously the next thing is changing up the roster. We didn't hear much about players or anything like that from Blau. And to be fair,
he mentioned Lermy. He mentioned
he
Lermy.
did, and he
mentioned
mentioned Bill, and he mentioned Bill
too.
also,
Yeah.
he also mentioned starting running back with Bill, which that's not crazy because I think Bill has all the tools to be. Yeah, I think Bill has all the tools. Well, especially coming from me because I've been adamant about I think that they should add a running back, but I think Bill overall has starting running back capabilities. Like I was annoyed, even though I think they need to add another running back. I was annoyed throughout the season when I'm like, I feel like he's the best running back and should get the ball more, and he wasn't. But I also think there's other elements like being able to catch the ball out of the backfield as well as blocking, pass blocking. Maybe he wasn't great at that. I also mentioned that I thought his vision got a lot better, but ultimately we did hear about some players. But yeah, I mean, this is just the beginning. It's just the beginning, and it's one of these things where everything sounds great at the beginning, right? It's like, I'm telling you, if we go back and listen to podcasts about Joe Witt and Cliff, everybody probably was like, yo, they sound great, and they're going to work out amazingly. And to be fair, the first year worked out pretty good. The second year didn't work out so well. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But that's all I had pretty much. Did you have any closing remarks in regards to anything about either, this team or anything, that's coming up?
One of the things that I also too thought was, okay, let's go, was right after, I don't even think the awards for the Super Bowl, I don't even think, they didn't even, put out the confetti yet. And the Commanders have posted what they posted on Twitter about them getting
the
ready
jerseys.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, they're sick of those old jerseys. Those other jerseys that they wore they're done with them. They want to get done with those. They have rules in the NFL on how quickly they can change jerseys, which is why that's what we saw last year of them bringing those alternates. But yeah, like you said, you're right. They didn't wait. They didn't wait 10 minutes. They were waiting for the they were like, yo, I'm trying to press that button right now. They pressed it right when the game ended. And yeah, it gets me excited as a guy who takes pictures. Those uniforms look so much better than the other uniforms.
Although I love the black uniforms. I
think they still keep them because you can have two alternates, and I think you've seen. I had the concept picture that I did of their old, spear helmets that I did. I think if they bring an alternate, that might be one of them, but I think the black one will also be another one because people really, really like the black, and I hope that they change the helmet. I don't really like the W on the helmet for the black ones. Yeah. It's just right in the middle. Not a fan of that, so I hope that if they bring the spear back, I hope they put it on the black helmet. If they don't, I just hope they put some kind of cool design on the black helmet. But that's one thing. Another thing that we should talk about, unless you have more to say about the jerseys, but we should also talk about Tressway coming back.
Yes.
It's a big start to the offseason. Tressway is a fan favorite. I like Tressway a lot. He's fun energy on the sideline, and he's an incredible punter. He deserves to be here. He should deserve to finish his career as a Commander. So I'm excited for that. Great start to the offseason. Anything else from you?
Yeah, no. Honestly, it was good to see, Tress. That was kind of something that kind of came out the whim today. It was great to see that he announced his re-signing. I think, he's a great punter. He brings a lot of intense and well-needed energy for this team. He's a community guy. He's just a guy that it doesn't matter what position you're in, whether you're offense, defense, special teams, he hones in on you, and he uplifts you, and I've seen that in the locker room.
Good
I've seen
energy,
that
very good energy.
Camp.
Yeah. No, and not even just players. He's nice to us. Some of these players aren't that nice to us, and some of them are really cool to us, and he's one of them. And to be fair, he's also really good. Let's keep it real too. He's a great punter, so he is one of the better players on this team. Great leader, great. He's a captain. One of the guys you want to never leave. Like I wouldn't want to see
Yeah.
Tress playing for another team. So you could
I wouldn't
tell that's
either.
how everybody feels. Yeah, and that's how everyone feels when they announced it. Twitter blew up of everybody congratulating him and talking about starting the offseason right. And I agree, he's somebody that was an automatic re-sign. He
Yeah.
can keep doing 1-year deals for as long as he wants in my book, right? So, great start to the offseason. There's a lot more things we hope to happen. Time's gonna fly. Like right now, you got 2 more weeks till combine. We're still gonna be making content, about this team, about some of the other sports. Wizards are coming back. There is talk about Anthony Davis and Trae Young
Yes.
potentially coming back to play this year. No,
We
I
don't
mean literally.
know.
Will Dawkins said it on the radio today. I'm not sure.
I mean,
He's saying that. I don't know if it's
saying that,
true.
but at the
He's
same
saying it.
time,
I don't believe it
I
either,
mean,
but he's saying it.
we
That's
don't
what he's
know
saying.
because right now Anthony Davis is doing rehab in Dallas.
Yeah,
So
sure.
we're gonna see how that goes, and then obviously too, the real question is too that everybody's kind of wondering outside of Trey coming back and Anthony Davis is D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah, that
That's
is another
one of the
one.
biggest ones.
Yeah.
Because he didn't report at all, and everybody's like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
there.
let's gonna see what."
It's
next
weird because
for
I've
him.
been hearing. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, and I'm kind of waiting to see if like all of a sudden they're like he got waived. But like, yeah, I mean, look, man, not everybody wants to be a Wizard. That's fine. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So, it is what it is. But hopefully he changes his mind.
AD had to. He had to fight them rumors off. Everybody was like, he doesn't want to be a Wizard.
Yeah,
And I
right.
was like-
Yeah.
He was like, I didn't say that.
Well, that's what they always. I mean, look, let's be real here. Like, I'm sure that's what everybody thinks. No one wants to be here, and there's been reason for that. But like, we believe times are changing. I'm a big, we've talked about Will Dawkins and him coming and changing kind of the, perception
Yeah.
of this team. I've gotten excited about this basketball team, but essentially that's not the only. We're going to talk Commanders. We're going to talk Wizards. We'll talk some other stuff. Combine's coming up. Free agency
DC
will start in a month.
United.
DC
their
United
first-
is starting
yep.
up in what, next weekend?
February
I think
21st.
Yeah,
I
so it's
believe
not
is
this
their
weekend,
first
but next
preseason.
weekend. Yep,
Yeah.
and then obviously, come to spring, we got Defenders, Nats, all of it, right? Like there's Spirits coming back, so a lot of sports
Yep.
to cover, a lot of sports that are going to be coming up. But yeah, we'll still be on the football tick, obviously, as free agency starts and the draft approaches. So that's all I had. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll have more for you guys, obviously, this week, and when any breaking news comes up, we'll be here to break it with you. So thank you, Skylar. I appreciate you joining me, and we'll talk to you guys soon. All right, peace.